In Roman numeral 4, we're looking at trial and error factoring, and that's when we've gone through the first Roman numeral steps, and we have a coefficient of our trinomial, a coefficient of x squared that is not 1. In which case, we call them quadratic polynomials, both the FOIL backwards and this one, where the x squared is called the quadratic term. It's an important thing to remember, the quadratic term of the polynomial. The x to the first term is called the linear term, and then the c is called the constant. And we can guess using the name trial and error that there is some guesswork involved in this method. So our first method that we have to guess a little bit. However, we don't have to guess when we figure out what the signs are going to be in our binomials. They're going to be the same as they were for FOIL backwards. So if the signs are both plus, they're both plus. If the signs of my trinomial are minus then plus, they factor as both subtraction. If my trinomial is both subtraction, we have one of each. And if it's addition then subtraction, that will factor as one of each also. So no guesswork involved with the signs. So what we also need to do, though, is not only list all the ways of factoring the constant, but also all the ways of factoring a, that leading coefficient of x squared. And then we need to try, and this is where we get the trial part, we need to try multiplying the outsides and the inside portion of FOIL to get all the possible combinations of factors of a with all the possible combinations factors of c to try to figure out which ones will give us the middle term. And of course, it's best illustrated by an example. So let's jump into one. First, there's no greatest common factor common to all three terms. Second, Roman numeral 2, it's not one of the 5 special formulas. Third, this is not a coefficient of 1, so it's not FOIL backwards. It's officially trial and error. So we know from our slide 25, the signs, if they're minus then plus, are both going to be subtraction. We now need to list all the possible ways of factoring 15 and all the possible ways of factoring 4. So to do that, 15 could be 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. 4 could be 1 and 4, but order is going to be important. So if we don't change the order of our leading coefficients, we need to also consider the order of our constants. So it could be 1 times 4 or it could be 4 times 1. And then we have 2 times 2, which if you switch them around is also 2 times 2. So we can see here that it could be 1 and 15 with 1 and 4, 1 and 15 with 4 and 1, 1 and 15 with 2 and 2, could be 3 and 5 with 1 and 4, could be 3 and 5 with 4 and 1, could be 3 and 5 with 2 and 2. And so we've got 2 times 3, or 6 possible combinations, where we don't have to do the complete portion of FOIL, but the outside and the inside part to see which one is going to give us the middle term of negative 16t. And so let's take a look and see what happens. Here are the 6 combinations. If we have the 1 and 15 with 1 and 4, the 1 and 15 with 4 and 1, the 1 and 15 with 2 and 2, the 3 and 5 with 1 and 4, the 3 and 5 with 4 and 1, and the 3 and 5 with 2 and 2. As we do the outsides insides, we can see that the outside is negative 4t minus 15t, and that equals negative 19t. It is not the negative 16t we're looking for. Second possibility, outside is negative 1t, inside is negative 60t. That is not negative 16t either. Third combination, outside is negative 2t, inside is negative 30t, that's negative 32t, also not negative 16t. Fourth combination, outside that's negative 12t, inside is negative 5t, negative 17t is close, but does not count. Next combination, outside is negative 3t, inside is negative 4t, that gives us negative 23t. And yep, I think you can see that the last one here, we get negative 6t with negative 10t. That is our negative 16t and our winning combination. So therefore, 15t squared minus 16t plus 4 is equal to 3t minus 2 times 5t minus 2. If you want to check your answers, you can FOIL it out, do the firsts, outsides, insides, last to verify that it really is 15t squared minus 16t plus 4. And sometimes I get a little silly, and instead of trial and error, I call it T and E for tedious and excruciating, because it's a tedious process to check out all the possible combinations of the outside and the inside terms to find out which one is going to give you that middle term that you're looking for. Let's look at another example. So let's look at all the possible ways here. First of all, the signs are going to be one of each. So as I list these combinations, 1 and 10 could be 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. 6 could be 1 and 6, 6 and 1, 2 and 3, 3 and 2. Let's list all the possibilities. Could be 1 and 10 with 1 and 6. Could be 1 and 10 with 6 and 1. Could be 1 and 10 with 2 and 3. Could be 1 and 10 with 3 and 2. Could be 2 times 5 is 10 with 1 and 6. Could be 2 times 5 with 6 and 1. Could be 2 times 5 with 2 and 3. Could be 2 times 5 with 3 and 2. So as we look, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 possible combinations to test. Let's check multiplying the outsides and insides to see which ones will give us positive 11t. Here is 6 minus 10t, so that's negative 4t. Second one, outside is 1t minus 60t, that's negative 59t. Third situation is 3t minus 20t, so that's negative 17t. Then we have 2t minus 30t, or we have 12t minus 5t, or we have 2t minus 30t, or we have 6t minus 10t. And finally, we can see that the last combination here, 4t minus 15t, gives us the right number, but the wrong sign. Do we have to do all that work all over again? No. If we get the right number but the wrong sign, there's a simple solution to it. Keep the number combinations you have, but just switch which sign is addition with which sign is subtraction. So instead of 2t minus 3, it's going to be 2t plus 3. Instead of 5t plus 2, it's going to be 5t minus 2. So keep the numbers, just change the signs. And 10t squared plus 11t minus 6 factors as 2t plus 3 times 5t minus 2. You can FOIL them out to verify that your answer is correct. All right, we're going to stop trial and error at this point for here. And the next lesson will be factoring by grouping.